The Supreme Court came to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and they're all out of gum. June was a momentous month for the court. First, they ruled in favor of loosening restrictions on concealed carry permits nationwide, affecting states like New York and California that have long made getting such permits impossible for anyone outside elite circles. Next, they struck down Roe V Wade, making abortion a states' rights issue again. And finally, at the end of the month, they gutted the EPA's powers to regulate, making the Biden administration's efforts to fight against climate change impotent. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video. Roe v. Wade is getting the most attention publicly, but it's actually the least important of these three rulings. Unless you live in an extremely religious state, this won't affect you. You might see an increase in tourism, that's about all. Stores limiting the number of Plan B pills people can purchase demonstrates the complete misunderstanding by the public, which is not a surprise. Roe v. Wade has long been understood as bad law. That's why Democrats have been afraid it would be overturned for my entire life. They never stopped talking about it in order to prime the base for the inevitability. So when it happened, it would be an emotional issue without room for any logic-based discussion. Based on the staged emotional reactions of leftist tik-tokers, they succeeded in this goal. Regardless of the simple-minded masses being in a frenzy, this ruling in and of itself is not a big deal. In the larger context of American politics, it kinda is, because it signals a willingness to touch issues that for decades the court has shied away from. The media has been repeatedly stating that Justice Clarence Thomas suggested the court will go after access to contraceptives, for married couples, in fact, and gay marriage next. I will now read his exact comment for you, so you can decide. The court today declines to disturb substantive due process jurisprudence generally or the doctrine's application in other specific contexts. Cases like Griswold v. Connecticut, right of married persons to obtain contraceptives, Lawrence v. Texas, right to engage in private consensual sexual acts, and Obergefell v. Hodges, right to same-sex marriage, are not at issue. The court's abortion cases are unique, and no party has asked us to decide whether our entire 14th Amendment jurisprudence must be preserved or revised. Thus, I agree that nothing in the court's opinion should be understood to cast doubt on precedents that do not concern abortion. So either I'm completely misunderstanding what he's saying, or the corporate media is intentionally misleading us. I think the latter is far more likely. I interpret this as saying these cases are also weak laws, but the court has no interest in pursuing them at this time, and abortion is a singularly important issue to it. In fact, he even says they have no intent to go after those laws. Initially, I was going to report that he actually had recommended the court overturn those rulings as well, and was going to say he must be trying to start riots. Then I asked myself, is it more plausible that the media entirely distorted his statements to get them to say the antithesis of what he actually meant, or that a conservative Supreme Court justice actually wanted to limit access to contraceptives for married couples? So I looked it up. Surprise, surprise, the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of them are all in lockstep with the same bullshit spin. The other two rulings will mean massive changes to come. In blue cities like Milwaukee, where there were 10,000 carjackings last year committed primarily by underage teens who get released 3 weeks after being arrested, check out the Kia Boys mini-documentary on YouTube for a better understanding, law-abiding citizens have had no legal means of defending themselves for decades. That is finally coming to an end. Since the goalposts shifted from a colorblind society to black supremacy, the crime rate in all Democratic-run cities has skyrocketed. Following the George Floyd riots, police became afraid to enforce basic laws in regards to black people. The clearest evidence supporting this comes from our own government agencies. The U.S. Department of Transportation's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration stated there was a 23% increase in accidents involving black drivers between 2019 and 2020. No other race had a noteworthy increase during the pandemic. So while correlation is not causation, I've yet to hear any other logical explanation for this massive increase in car accidents affecting only the black population. If you can think of one, put it in the comments. The other source is the Center for Disease Control, CDC, who sanctioned protest for racial equity by BLM during the height of a pandemic, going so far as stating that somehow this singular social activity was not a threat to people's health. Offices, restaurants, bars, clubs, gyms, and all other public gathering places were labeled such severe threats they had to be locked down indefinitely. But densely packed crowds of thousands were safe because racial equity is more important than controlling the spread of disease to the Center for Disease Control. There won't be a lot of evidence in police statistics to support my claim, because people don't report crimes they know the police won't stop, solve, or prevent. Gavin Newsom demonstrates how politicians can make it statistically appear as if less crime is taking place, even while everyone's cars are being broken into 10 times a year, simply by making less arrests, leading to less calls coming in as small crimes like stealing bicycles become so numerous. Not only is the prospect of justice hopeless, the population becomes accustomed to it. Not to mention, if you do complain about it, Seth Rogen might imply that you're racist on Twitter. The only somewhat accurate gauge on crime are homicide statistics, and in Los Angeles, those are up 98% since 2019. As long as policing crime is considered racist, the police cannot solve these problems, leaving it up to each individual to protect themselves. Thanks to the Supreme Court, now we can. The finale of the month, rescinding the EPA's authority to regulate greenhouse gases, which is big news for everyone from ranchers, because their cows create greenhouse gases, to manufacturing plants that face the very real threat of a carbon tax from the Biden administration like the one Europe is enacting. On the downside, this could very well be the excuse to stack the bench Biden's been waiting for. If that happens, all of these rulings will be reversed, and they will enact massive changes in the opposite corporate global direction. I don't know how long the procedures required in stacking the bench take, but if it's not more than 6 months, and the establishment Democrats and Republicans aren't wiped out in the midterm elections, I'd expect it to happen by the end of his term. The misrepresentation of facts reaching new pinnacles daily is also extremely concerning. The coordinated campaign formed originally to target Trump is now being used against anyone and everyone who opposes the new world order and its goals. Biden is claiming Republicans intend to ban abortion nationwide in order to gin up votes for Democrats this midterm. Hey, I don't know. I hope it doesn't matter if they win. It just matters if it's close. If it's close, they win. So, yeah, if the media keeps misinforming everybody, telling them that that's the plan, and the people don't look into it, then it'll be close, and we'll be stuck with Biden for 4 more years. Because it'll have to be a landslide to have any effect. To actually change, to actually get the Democrats out of office, it would have to be a fucking landslide. So, let's hope. Alright. What else? Yeah, I guess that's it. That's it for that. I'm doing a Star Trek video next. Stay tuned.